What's up guys, and welcome back to some more Pokemon Sun and Moon content, and today, as you can tell, we're doing some speculating about the legendaries for Sun and Moon respectively, which are Solgaleo and Lunaala. Of course their names are still not properly confirmed, but it's pretty much seems like it's going to be the case. It fits the designs and the names. They will likely be revealed in the next few days. I believe there is a reveal supposed to be happening on the website, like June the 3rd, June the 4th, something along those lines. So be sure to keep your eyes tuned, and I'll make a video on that once the details actually come out. And it'll likely be, in my opinion, I think it's going to be, you know, the reveal of the legends. We'll get to learn what types they are and stuff like that, but we have a few days until that happens. So until then, we'll actually have a talk about it. So, you know, we'll start off with Solgaleo, because Sun comes before Moon. Because without the Sun there is no Moon, you guys get the idea. But Solgaleo, typing wise, we'll talk about first. There were a few typings we've sort of thrown about sort of beforehand. We were speculating before we even had the designs, and we just had sort of, well, we didn't even have the names. And these were like Fire, Fairy and Psychic. I've also listed Electric here because of Solgaleo's design. Because of all this yellow on it makes me feel like it might be incorporated somehow. It's a possibility, of course, but this was actually really hard for me to choose the typing for it, because, you know, for both these legendaries, actually, they don't really fit into a single, you know, it's not like, oh yeah, it's got some sort of pink to the design, or, you know, some sort of, you know, psychic-like stuff on the design. I can't really fit it into a particular type. So the typing I'm sort of, I guess I'm hoping for, I don't think it's going to happen, but one I would really hope to see is a Fire Electric type. Now, as I mentioned, Electric I've mentioned because of all this, you know, yellow on its design, you know, particularly around its sort of head, I guess, as a maybe like a, I don't know, a decorative area, as well as on its mane and its claws and its tail, and, you know, all got yellow highlights. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a given that it's going to be part Fire type because it's a Sun legendary, and it, you know, it's a lion. Lions work pretty well for fire. We've obviously had Entei and Pyroar both before, both sort of based on lions and both fire types. Be a bit weird to have a third one, but it seems like that's the road they're going down. Of course, I guess there is the possibility it won't be a part Fire type, but I don't think it's very big, simply because of the fact that it's a Sun legendary. What are you gonna do? So you know, the Sun is a fiery ball of gas. It would just be a bit weird. So Fire Electric is sort of the one I'm hoping for. Even though it'd have a 4 times weakness to ground, I would really like to see it because it's one of the types I've always hoped to have, you know, for any Pokemon. So I really just hope it would happen. We can't really say too much about the ability, since, you know, we have nothing to go off of just from its design at all or anything along those lines. So we can pretty much just reiterate what I said last time I did this video, which was hopefully it will have something to do with the Sun. You can assume it would, either with time of day, i.e. it's more powerful during the day, and obviously Lunaala would have a respective one, or it could possibly have Drought is the other idea I had, because that would make sense, because it brings the Sun out, makes a lot of sense there, but really, who knows? If you have any ideas, let me know down below, because it's sort of the biggest speculative section we have, and I'm just sort of lost on ideas on how the Sun aspect could be incorporated there. Then we move on to the base stats, which things are sort of a bit more expansive. We're not limited to just sort of design-wise. We can talk about, we are limited to design-wise, but we can talk about the design and, you know, get the stats from there. For doing these stats here, I pulled Entei, and I also looked at, well, obviously main legendaries, big legendaries like Ho-Oh, Lugia, Dialga, Palkia have a base stat total usually of 680, so that's what I'm basing off here. And I looked at Entei, which has a base stat total of 580, since it's sort of a lesser legendary. So obviously because obviously we can assume they're going to be similar in ways. So I looked at that, and I sort of extrapolated the data between them, and I came up with this, as you can see. So its highest base stat, I think, is going to be attack. Of course, it could go either way, attack or special attack. But however, I think Solgaleo is going to be the physical member of the duo or trio possibly, and Lunaala being a special one because it just sort of fits the designs more. You know, lions jump on their prey and chase it and, you know, do stuff like that. Bats, which is obviously what Lunaala is sort of based off of. I say obviously, I said it was a moth, but it's just, don't worry. So yeah, it would make more sense for bats, but we'll talk about it when we get there. So as you can see, attack is the highest stat here, special attack being the lowest, even though it's still pretty high. I mean, the special attack is still going to be about 100 or so. It's going to be pretty large, as all stats are usually for legendaries of this caliber. But they don't have like a really low stat, but it's not extremely high. So it would be mainly a physical attacking, but you could also probably go with special attacking as well. Its next highest stat there is health points, because I feel like it's going to be reasonably bulky, like not sort of, obviously it's going to be pretty bulky anyway, it's a legendary, but bulky, just because of its design, it's nice and it's got a big fluffy mane basically. And then its defense and speed, because I feel like physical defense would be something else it would have as well. Looking at design and speed, I imagine it would be pretty speedy, even though it's a big Pokemon. Lions are pretty fast, not obviously fast as cheetahs and such, but I feel like it would work. Then obviously going down we have special attack, defense, and then special attack finally being the last one. So you can see here I was going for a physical side for Solgaleo because I feel like that would work best. Of course, if you guys have a different opinion and think it's going to be a special attacker with very low defenses, then sure, let me know down below in the comments section. But for now we shall move on to look at Lunaala. So Lunaala, typing again first up. There were again a few typings we threw around: Fairy, Dark, Flying, Rock, and now I've got even Ghost listed here. Before we knew the design or anything like that, we thought maybe, okay, you can have a Fairy type, since Fairy, Moonblast, and it was obviously related to the moon and maybe Moonlight and such. Obviously Clefairy is part Fairy type, stuff like that related to the moon. We also thought Rock, because moon is just a big ball of rock. We also thought Dark, because dark side of the moon. Flying was brought up since it sort of makes sense. And I think there was one or two other types we brought up as well. Ice possibly, since it's sort of, the moon is cold, or colder than Earth at least. But the typings I'm gonna I don't want to say hope for, but I feel like it would work best is a Fairy Dark typing. This would give us our first second main Fairy type legendary, since obviously we had Xerneas and Diancie, so it would be the second Mascot legendary as part Fairy type, and obviously a Dark legendary as well. Why would I go with this rather than a Flying type when it's obviously got wings? Because I feel like they wouldn't go for this design with the wings and everything like that if they had to make it part Flying, if that makes any sense. Doing the design, looking at it saying, oh, it's part Flying type, that means you're restricted to using one other typing. Fairy, yeah, that might fit it because of the moon theme it's got going on, maybe, but looking at the rest of the design, nothing about it screams Fairy to me. Obviously we have sort of the darker purpley tones which scream ghost and dark more than anything. So, dark flying, guess it would make sense, but it wouldn't really fit. You guys get the idea. Having only one typing apart from flying doesn't really allow you to be that in-depth with what it's got. Plus, if we did a Fairy Flying and we had the Fire Electric Solgaleo would grossly outclass Lunaala, but that would make sense again because of the sun. Outclasses the moon. But I went for Fairy Dark. Maybe it would have some sort of ability like Levitate, or maybe it wouldn't, and they maybe wouldn't really care about it being able to be hit by ground type moves. But Fairy Dark is what I'm going for there, just for a bit of depth. Fairy typing because of the moon theme, but Dark also because of the design there. Then ability again, we haven't really got too much to go off of. I mentioned an ability that maybe powers Lunaala up during the night. Of course, this wouldn't really work for competitive games. It would probably just do nothing at all in competitive games, but really they're not, these sort of legendaries aren't used in anything but Uber. So, and obviously when Game Freak design these Pokemon, they aren't thinking solely of competitive. They're not saying, oh yes, this Pokemon must be able to be used in competitive. Every single Pokemon we make must have a use in competitive. Or must, be viable, I guess. You guys get the idea. Hopefully Hopefully it will be something related to the moon. But apart from the sort of powering up at night, I really have no idea. Again, if you have any ideas, let me know down below, because I am lost for ideas there. And then base stats, as I mentioned, I'm seeing Lunaala as a special attacker rather than physical. So as you can tell, special attack is the highest stat here. Also being specially defensive, because looking at Lunaala's design, it's not really going to be physically defensive, it's got nothing to protect itself with, apart from its big wings, but those look pretty flimsy as well, so special defense would make a lot of sense there. Speed is its next one, but however that could be a bit lower, because it's not necessarily the fastest of Pokemon, looking at its design, because obviously it's going to have to glide everywhere or flap its wings everywhere, but special speed, what I mean to say, would be pretty high as well. And obviously going down to defense, health points, and then physical attack. Lunaala does not look like a physical attacker at all to me. I can't really see how that would work out at all. And obviously physical defense, as I mentioned, doesn't seem like it would be very big. And obviously health points as well, maybe would have a sort of a slightly higher health points and lower speed. But really that's up for debate. But special attacker basically is the TLDR for Lunaala basically. But those are two legendaries. 10-minute video, okay, I guess that makes sense. But what I want to know is, ahead of the full reveal of these two Pokemon, these two legendaries, let me know down below what you hope to see and what you think we're going to see for these two. Do you think Solgaleo is going to be a Fire Ledge type, or do you think it's going to be just pure fire basically. Same for Lunaala as well, and also let me know about ability ideas any of you have, because they're interesting, but I'm just terrible at ideas. So let me know what you think down below, guys. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.